Welcome to another episode of StewTube. Well, guys, if you were in my live stream on Financial Summit's YouTube channel a couple of days ago, you'll know I was calling for slightly higher prices, and we absolutely did just get them. Now is the tricky part and why we need to watch out for a few things. Honestly, I'm feeling more bullish than I have been recently. I know many think I am a perma bear because since June, early June, I've been quite bearish. But that's not the case at all, you guys. But even though I'm starting to convert a little more bullish, there's still absolutely a few things we need to keep on our radar. And why I'm not quite a moon boy yet. Yes, I'm more open to the idea of feeling bullish and playing the bullish side and that sort of thing. Yeah, there's just a few things we got to watch for. For those of you with me here, the MDX ALGO legends, you'll know I was talking about, well, since last night, I've been in a long since 63,026 US dollars. And I did just recently open a hedge short as well. Basically, we got rejected off my macro resistance. And that's not necessarily all bad. To be honest, I am still feeling bullish, but I wanted to protect myself, so I'm also open to the idea of hedging some shorts here while the last little bit of my long position runs, because I have been taking profits on my long on the way, obviously, because that was a juicy play, and using high leverage, you got to pay yourself on the way. So I only have about 20% of that position running still, but just in case we do break out, right? But either way, if I get stopped out on the rest, I'm just going to lock in more profits. But I also opened up this little bit of a hedge short. Because we are starting to see some bearish Stuber fibs come into play here. Notice I have one mapped out here that played out beautifully, as well as the one we just got. I mean, technically, I did share this with you guys basically right as we tested over here. I think it was about a minute after we hit the 786. I had shared this with you guys. Yeah, it's a very small range, but it did hit the target. And from there, I mean, we have to see what happens, right? Because the target has already been hit. That's not to say that this is going to flip bullish right now. It's just I'm open to the idea because, hey, the bearish target for this little range was hit. So if you did end up taking a scalp there, obviously make sure you're paying yourself on the way. Because the way I scalp, especially looking at the 1 minute like this, I'm always playing the range first and then hoping for a breakout with the rest, right? So even me, myself, even with this hedge, I have started paying myself already on it. The rest is just open there for just basically insurance purposes, just in case this long ends up getting stopped out if we drop these support levels, basically. I believe my stop loss is just below 64,000 on the rest of my long position. I think 63,966 or something like that. But yeah, basically just to make sure that I lock in more profits if we do dump. And yeah, just protecting myself both ways, because honestly, guys, I always say this in my streams, it's more important to be able to react than predict. And I know I've heard Max say it before in some of his shorter clips and stuff that, you know, an actual trader generally doesn't know what's actually going to happen. You have your predictions, and predictions are great. But a lot of people who make good predictions don't actually trade those, or, you know, don't put any money behind them or whatever, right? Whereas traders don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but they know how to protect themselves. And that's basically what this short is right now. If it gets stopped out, I really don't care. If we blast through this Stuber fib kind of and start taking off to the upside, I'm going to be open to the idea of a higher hedge short, starting a new one. And I'll get into those levels in a little bit as well. But yeah, just basically protecting myself. If we drop off a cliff because we have tested some serious resistance here, I just want to protect myself. Now, I want to be clear about this. I think that there's still fuel in the tank to go a little bit higher. And one of the big reasons for that is retail is actually quite heavily short right now. To see that, you know, only 52% is long. I mean, generally speaking, when we've been hitting these resistance levels and FOMO has been driving back into the market at resistance, so often we've been seeing the market, you know, 70, 75, 77% long retail long, whereas right now it's quite low. So that means that retail is actually trying to short resistance this time. And being that there's so many doing that, how often is retail actually correct? I mean, generally speaking, they're wrong. Another thing, just looking at this out the corner of my eye, something just sparked my interest. It looks like we have an engulfing monthly candle here. You can see that this green candle here is starting, and I mean the month is going to end soon, but that is so far looking like it's going to be engulfing. So that could be some serious momentum with a monthly chart like that. And even just if I go over these candle bodies, you can see we're just basically flipping that resistance into support just at a very quick glance on the monthly there. So that looks juicy. These wicks to the downside, I mean, that's just looking like a bit of a fake out. So yeah, you guys, I'm open to the idea of, I personally think that higher prices are coming fairly soon, especially with the election around the corner and stuff like that. Here's where I gotta be careful. Actually, before I get bearish at all, also the monthly chart, or the weekly chart rather. You guys know this is the chart that made me very bearish, basically, when we got this signal with the red vertical line here. That was basically the first weekly Stuber fib, followed by a massive RSI divergence. The thing is, right now, just an early warning sign is that we have finally broken this RSI level. You can see that so far. I mean, this week hasn't ended yet, but it's looking like we're getting a breakout with the RSI. So that might just be an early warning sign that we are going to break out of this range. Now, to be perfectly clear, I'm going to go over to the 4-hour here because I think this is worth noting that resistance is resistance until it's broken, right? And every one of these rallies so far, the Stuber fib, the 786, 886 Fibonacci levels, have ended up rejecting us. Every time we set a lower low and then come up, get a lower high, which has been right at that Fibonacci, right? Something like so. You can see that we got this one. I know I point this out every video, but just in case new people are seeing these videos or whatever, and just to show how I do these Fibonaccis, here, another lower low. Then I'm pulling my fib from the lower high to the new lower low. Look where we get rejected, right at the 886 once again. And then here we set another lower low down around 49,000 US dollars. And that technically gives us this Fibonacci pull. And we have just recently, just in the last couple of hours, we have finally tested this macro resistance. And this has basically been my target since we bottomed around 52.5K. And again, just to show how often these Fibonacci levels get respected, right, is this is technically a little bit different structure, but if I pull it from the bottom, going to the top of that swing, notice we found support right at the 786, just like what we're struggling with on the opposite end right now. So that is something to consider, right, is that, you know, we are technically back at my bullish target, right? Not to say that I'm necessarily bearish yet, but that was my target for the long. A few reasons why I think we aren't necessarily done this move is generally all of these swings actually played out right to the 886. And this time we've only tested the 786 so far. So the 886 is actually up around 67.5K, somewhere in there. So I really wouldn't be too surprised to see in the next few days that we fill that to climb a little bit higher. Does it have to happen? Absolutely not. On this long position that I'm in, I have been taking profits along the way. Because just in case I'm wrong, I want to make sure that I pay myself, because there's no guarantee that we get up here, right? Especially the fact that we are starting to see a little bit of a rejection here. I think there's room to the upside, but you know what? We are at resistance. So it's just time to be cautious, no matter how you feel right now. You know, from a bullish standpoint, yeah, I'm bullish on the trend for many reasons right now, but we are starting to be at those target levels. Couple things that I want to discuss as to why I think we could go a little higher. One was obviously that long short ratio that I showed you here with retail. Another thing is that technically we did break these highs, right? We got candle bodies closing above this. So even if we got some sort of a pullback here, I would just be looking at, you know, longing the shit out of something like this myself personally, thinking that we end up going higher. So we do have this bullish structure break where we broke out of this range. If we lose this range, let's say we drop below 62K, then yeah, I think it's possible that we go significantly lower, maybe even test new lows. But as it stands right now, It's not looking so bad. Another thing, if I bring up the ALGO master indicator, this is what I absolutely love to see, is we recently got a higher buy signal print. So we have a beautiful trend of higher trending buy signals and sell signals. And I talk about using the indicators this way quite often to confirm my bias of which way I should be trading the market. Just notice that, same on the other end, right? When we had lower trending sell signals, beautiful short entries. Now we have higher trending buy signals. A beautiful trend here. Absolutely loving this ALGO master indicator, by the way. Love the fact that it can you can bring up this back testing data so you can see on which sensitivity what the results are for the last 25 trades and that sort of thing. So cool. I'm absolutely loving this indicator. But yeah, that's just another thing that I love to see. These buy signals are still trending to the upside, pushing us up against resistance, right? So we'll have to see what happens there. Another thing that is going for the bulls in this case is, even though this isn't actually a full-on Stuber fib, because we never did take out this lower high structure, right? Yes, you could say technically this is a lower high, but just the way I'm looking at ranges, we never did take out this lower low here, so we never did confirm the height of this new range ever since finding this bottom. So the interesting part about this is, after we set this low, this pullback here, this big rejection here, just shy of the 786, we never did set another lower low here. And that just makes me think that there is some hidden strength there. I'm not willing to call this a confirmed higher low because we never broke a lower high structure, but it sure does look like one, right? It is, technically, yes, it's a higher low. It's just not basically confirmed after breaking out of the range that I was looking at. So yeah, it's just the fact that the bulls did step in a little bit early there, rather than setting a new lower low. Like if we were trading at this level right now, but after we set a lower low, I would have been looking for a Stuber fib, and I would have been very bearish at this level. But being that that lower low structure wasn't there, I just feel a little bit differently about it. So there is that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as why I think we could go a little higher. Some things that are concerning, I haven't actually checked it today, but there is starting to be a lot of high leverage liquidity to the downside. This is quite concerning, and why I say that I don't think Bitcoin's necessarily safe yet. Yes, I have my bullish theories, but we also have to be realistic and look at the potential risks involved. And there is a lot of liquidations down below us. And this is all these yellow and gold bars here. This is all 50 to 100x leverage liquidation levels. And you can see that there's a hell of a lot more liquidity to the downside right now than there is to the upside. So that's just another reason why we got to be cautious that we are at resistance. Resistance is resistance until it's broken. And this is a big reason as to why I'm at least willing to start looking for hedges short. Even if I'm bullish, I like having a hedge short as just basically insurance purposes. And also, let's just look where this liquidity ends up lining up. I can take a pretty good guess that it's going to be right around the 786, 886. As far as here, let's just pull a fib from where we bottomed out on that swing to where we topped out. And yeah, notice that a lot of the liquidity is kind of right on the way to the 786. There is even a couple of bars there right at the 786, and a little bit just slightly past the 886. So yeah, as it stands right now, that is a little bit concerning from a bullish perspective. So it's important to, keep those things on the radar. Oh yeah, that was a juicy little move off that Stuber fib. Did anybody catch that, by the way? I know I posted it in the Bitcoin chat earlier. It does look like a bit of a reversal now, just the fact that we have broke, it's micro analyzing, but for what it is on the 1 minute, yeah, technically we broke the downtrend, right? We'll have to see what the bulls can do from there. Actually, speaking of Stuber fibs, I think I eyeball one right here. Yep, 786 right there. So yeah, that actually would have been a beautiful entry from the long side of things. I never, oh man, I kind of wish I would have seen that earlier, because that would have been a beautiful scalp on a second account. I'm just gonna let this play out here for a little bit while we. I just gotta catch up on some messages. Yeah, how are you all doing? How are you all feeling on the market right now? How do you feel about my theories, both the bullish and the bearish scenarios? Because the thing is, with the election, I have to feel that there's going to be a bunch of money pumped into the economy, is just what I feel, just to help with numbers and stuff like that. Generally around election times, Bitcoin does pretty good into elections, and then a little bit, after. I think that we could pump, quite a ways into 2025. I personally think the bear market's going to start at some point next year. I don't know when for sure. I'm feeling later in the year, just for a few reasons. I really think, and just the 4-year cycle and everything, I just have a strong hunch that the actual bear market will start next year. I'm still open to the idea of a potential bear market sized move really quick, just to get that final flush, get the big players in at the prices that they want and that sort of thing. We got wars going on. There's a lot of uncertainty, but I just feel like the bears are running out of time, quite honestly. The fact that they never really pulled the trigger to the downside here. I just have a feeling that they're missing their opportunity as the election gets closer and everything like that, with the RSI breaking out. It's definitely a possibility that we just end up pumping now into October, as everyone likes to call it, and then just carry on into next year. And you know what? If that happens, great. I'm all for being a moon boy again if we end up setting new higher highs. Actually, one thing to be a little bit cautious of, just looking for any sort of fake out room. We could technically be finding some sort of an upward sloping resistance level where we don't actually go much higher. I don't really think that's going to be a thing. And if anything, if we get something like that, I would be mega bullish. If we can break out of the big resistance line like that over several years, a couple of market cycles testing that level, and then to flip that resistance into support, I think would be absolutely huge. But we're going to have to see what happens, right? There's a lot of what ifs between now and then. What can I say? Holy man, that's colorful. A lot of demand and supply zones going on right now. You can see the sell signals have started trending to the downside on the 1 minute. So another reason why I'm okay just leaving part of my head short running for now. Set a lower high signal with the auto charting tools. Now, a new Stuber fib we could start looking for in that case would be, we could look for something like that for a scalp opportunity. Many of you guys, for those of you who have been in a lot of my streams, that's a strategy I like to use. And yeah, obviously it's not going to work out every time, but especially when you're looking for Fibonacci points and stuff like that, so often these pivot points end up giving you great pull points. So if we could pull up something like this, I think there's a good chance that we end up seeing a rejection. If we end up breaking above this level at 65,160 approximately on the Blofin chart, if we break above that, then I think that's invalidated, and I think we're just going to carry on to the upside. And at that point, I'm going to be looking for higher hedge shorts. And when I say higher, that's where I'm kind of looking for that move up towards the 886. So that's one thing as far as retail goes. When I personally believe that when we get up towards 67.5K, that 886 macro Stuber fib, I think at that point people would be getting very bullish and getting a lot of FOMO. And I think at that point we could see these retail longs start climbing. If we see that, it'll be more of a recipe for a bigger dump. But if we don't get that and everyone is actually shorting that resistance, then I think there's a good chance we just smash right through. So we're going to have to see. We're starting to see some cracks with these bearish Stubers and lower high signals on the indicators. Like I said, ALGO master lower sell signals. So the shorter time frames are starting to show a little bit of weakness, I suppose. But again, I really wouldn't be too surprised to see higher prices coming soon. If we end up closing 4-hour candles above this confirmed lower high, and notice I say confirmed because we had this lower low and we did set a lower low. Highest point between the two is that confirmed lower high. If we get a 4-hour close above that level, which is right around 70,000, I will once again turn into a moon boy. But as it stands right now, I'm just cautiously bullish right now. Cautiously. Just want to look for if I can find some sort of a diagonal resistance line. It's not perfect. I like perfect touch points. Something like that. And you know what? Notice where that lines up. Notice where that 4-hour third touch point would line up. That would be right around that 886. So that's actually an interesting level that I am going to keep on my radar, and I'm actually going to set an alert here. So whenever I have an important level like that, I don't like setting blind orders, especially on something like a 4-hour. I use too high of leverage for that, so I want to see how levels are reacted with, basically. So in this case, yeah, once per minute, I want my phone to annoy the hell out of me, whether I'm sleeping or whatever. Bitcoin 4-hour diagonal resistance. And that will go every single minute that we touch that line. Yeah, basically that's some good confluence to look for a third touch point, because I know I talk about that quite often too. Is I know not everybody's into diagonal trend lines. I personally do like them. However, I have strict guidelines of needing exact touch points. I don't do the average thing. I go for exact touches of wicks because I just want to know the exact outside of the range that I'm looking for. So if I see, I would love to see, let's say, a third touch point against, I'm actually going to change the color of this, see us touch that for a third time, as well as the 886. And if we get some sort of a pullback and then break it on our fourth try, I would love to see a retest of that and long the shit out of that, basically. And then if we end up dropping into that box, then I would start to get bearish again and consider that a fake out, and I'd be looking to short down to the bottom of the range again. But as it stands right now, I would love to see a third rejection on this line. God damn it. On that line, followed by a breakout. I know a lot of people will get prematurely bearish if we test that again. And don't get me wrong, I think as far as a scalp, that makes sense. If we test that level and the 1 minute or the 5 minute is starting to fail that level, I will absolutely be looking to short that with a tight stop loss. But if just because we get that third rejection doesn't necessarily mean it's bearish. It just means at that point, it is confirmed as a pattern, in my opinion. And I'm willing to play a breakout at that point, because normally I don't like breakout trading because it ends up, generally speaking, you have to have a lot more risk. You have a lot bigger of a loss if you end up getting invalidated. In this case, I have a plan in place, but that's definitely a level I'm interested in looking at playing either way, right? Either we get a shorter time frame rejection off this level, and I'm going to be looking to start a scalp short, and if it turns into a swing, then great. But like I said, if we get that third rejection followed by a breakout and retest, then I'll be looking at playing that same line, but I'll be looking at it from the opposite way. That's an interesting trend line. Just for curiosity's sake, I want to see some sort of a support line. We could even look at something like that. If we do see a big rejection off that level, I think it would make a lot of sense that we end up like here, one sec. If we get something like this, come back down, I think it makes a lot of sense that we would just end up being just coiling up in a much bigger pattern, right? It would absolutely make sense, but these are just theories at this point. We have to see how it actually plays out. I just want to actually make sure I save this to my chart, because I think this is something that has some potential, and I haven't really looked at this before. This I also want, I'll just leave that where it is. So yeah, that's basically my story on the 4 hour chart. Like I said, the higher buy trend, I still really like that. That's definitely a point for the bulls, in my opinion. The liquidations, point for the bears. I gotta say it for what it is. That looks alarming. The fact that there's so much liquidity down there. Auto charting tools, we broke this higher high on the auto charting tools. So the thing with that is, just like a classic Stuber fib setup, technically we could pull back quite a bit and still be bullish, right? If this was more the 1 minute or the 5 minute, a lot of you guys are well aware of how I trade at this point, and that would basically be my bullish signal that we set a higher high. But that doesn't mean that we aren't going to pull back to the 786, 886. That'd just be a classic Stuber setup on a 4 hour, right? Doesn't have to happen. Obviously, the trend can just keep staircasing higher, and then my Fibonacci's would change, and everything would change about it. But that would make a lot of sense right now if we did get rejected. Okay, I know I was going to catch up on messages a little while ago, and I never did. So let me just catch up here. Oh. In order to short, do you need to use futures account? Can you do it without using leverage? Is there a specific exchange you recommend, and why? So yeah, you need to use leverage to short, unless you consider, I guess you could consider it spot shorting if you exit your spot position with the intent of buying back cheaper. That's actually how I started trading. I started trading in the bear market right around, I think, a couple days before we hit that 20K market cycle top. I traded the bear market that way, of coin collecting. I wasn't really concerned about the dollar amount because, for one, I knew that I was going to suck when I started. And two, to keep the money emotion out of it, I was just looking at getting more of the asset that I wanted, right? So I would just try and sell before a dump, and then I would just buy them back cheaper. Some of the random shit coins I had, I would just look to buy them back cheaper. I didn't care if they kept going down. I was just looking at coin collecting. So that's a way that you could technically consider it shorting without leverage. But the the real answer is, yeah, you basically need leverage to short. Which exchanges do I recommend? I personally use Blofin. I've only been using them for, I guess, a couple of months at this point, just because they're no KYC and they give good cash back on the fees. Their fees are kind of high, but like I know with my referral link, you can get 20% cash back on just your trading fees. That shows up in the funding account. BingX is a good one. I know Max has his bot on there. I think he also uses Femex, and what was the other one? Prime XBT, I believe. Somewhere in the Discord, there should be a bunch of his links. But yeah, there's a few exchanges I stay away from just because I've had bad experiences with them and heard of other people having bad experiences with them. But yeah, short answer, after the long answer, I would say I like Blofin, BingX, Femex, Prime XBT. Those are all good ones, in my opinion. I don't know. I haven't heard anything bad about them. Also, things like Bybit. I really liked using Bybit, but unfortunately, when they crack down on KYC, and Canada really doesn't like to be friendly with those kinds of places. So, but yeah, Bybit would definitely be up there. A lot of people use KuCoin. I haven't used it much myself, but yeah, what's the ALGO master saying? Oh, notice that we did print a little green box. Oh man, that is a big supply zone that it printed out there. It's kind of weird, actually. Oh, I guess that's just because this massive wick that we had to the upside here. It's just taking this entire candle as our supply zone, hence resistance. And that's why we have such a big red box there. I mean, one nice thing is obviously Bitcoin has done a good job of building support on this trend to the upside today. Love to see that. It's just that now we're starting to see some cracks, right? We're just starting to see some supply zones show up. We're starting to see some Stuber fibs play out. Yeah, I still think this is quite possible. But again, if we invalidate this lower high signal, even though this is just the 1 minute, so take it for what it is, right? I know not everybody's into trading the 1 minute. Um, Understand that trading the 1 minute leads to bad habits, over trading, over leveraging, revenge trading, all those habits we're supposed to avoid doing. So just understand, trading the lower time frames is not for everybody. I personally find it more relaxing than trading the longer time frames. I don't like having positions open for a long time, or at least unless I've already paid myself a little bit and stops are in profit and stuff like that, then I don't mind, obviously. But generally speaking, if I'm just getting into a position, I want to know very quickly if it's going to play out or not, basically. So I personally like trading the shorter time frames. But I mean, we could all have the same charts, the same trend lines, the same indicators, the same absolutely everything, and I guarantee we'd trade this market completely different. But I really like, especially in these live streams, I really like looking at the 1 minute and the 5 minute and stuff like that, just because you're more likely to catch, something like a live example like this. Whether or not it plays out, at least we can watch it together, right? Should I open a short on my other account is the question. I could look for a scalpy scalp. Yeah, you know what? I am going to. One sec. Get into another little short here. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's why I like looking at the shorter time frames on these streams, right? Just because there's so many more examples that pop out at us, and we're obviously way more likely to see them happen live. And honestly, when it comes to market structure and how I use the indicators and everything, whether I'm looking at the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, the daily, the weekly, I treat everything the same. If anything, it's easier to invalidate the shorter time frames, but the structure still works the same. Higher highs, higher lows, trending indicators, stuff like that. I generally look at everything the same, right? Like when I was looking at the 4 hour, I was still looking at Fibonacci pulls. Looking at the 1 minute, still looking at Fibonacci pulls, right? Basically, invalidation, I'm going just above this lower high signal, 188. So that's actually not past my invalidation point, you'll notice. And also, it might be a little bit tighter than I should have because we do have, the top of the range is slightly higher. But it's just because I'm trying to keep my risk relatively tight. And because of the setup I'm taking here is based off this Fibonacci pull and this signal. And if that signal is broken, even if we get some sort of a pullback, I think it'll be short-lived, and I would just be happier and more stress-free if I just cut my losses as soon as we invalidate that, basically. Not financial advice, obviously. If it, like, this is just what I'm doing, and yeah, it is what it is. Don't get stupid with your risk, please. Just because I'm entering a position doesn't mean that it has to play out by any means. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. And as always, I have another order set at the 886. So that's the thing too, right, guys, is when I enter positions, I always like to ladder in and out. Earlier I was talking about taking profits along the way, and I treat going into a position the same way, that if I have, you know, a certain range I'm looking for an entry, I like to ladder into that position just to help me help my average entry, basically. And, you know, that way if I end up taking the loss, you know, had I gone all in on my position right here, or I shouldn't say all in, not my whole account, just what I want to put on my trade. If I put it all at this level, then, you know, up here is, you know, that's where that's going to be in my invalidation. But if I end up adding at the 886, and even up here, depending how we act, I might pull the trigger on a random market sell or something like that, just trying to pull my average entry higher, so that if we end up getting invalidated, at least it's a smaller loss. And that's not to confuse it. I'm not doubling down my position. I'm not tripling down on it. I have a position size in mind, and I am splitting that up. And it actually, the smaller entries come first, and the bigger ones as I get closer to my invalidation, because I'm trying to really pull that entry up. I should set another one a little higher. Nope, might not. Might not. Come on, fill the 886. Come on, give me my other entry. And then, yeah, I'll basically, if this plays out, I will be closing half my position if we get near this 214, right about 833. I always front run my fibs a little bit. But yeah, my reasoning for that is, I know a lot of you guys have seen how I do these, but the 214 is basically the opposite 786, right? Because if I pull the Fibonacci this way, notice it's just front running the 786 a little bit. So if I generally like entering positions at a 786, obviously I'm going to be looking to exit, or at least partially exit, the opposite side of that. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, filled the box. Hit my additional entry. Yeah, like there's absolutely the chance this does get invalidated right away, in which case, yeah, my long can take the wheel at that point. Oh, let me just change this. My last entry will be at 143. And that That should pull my average entry, well, right around where my other one is. Right around the 886. Stop loss is my red dotted line. Realistically, it should be a little bit higher, but since I'm going for a specific play off of this signal, if that signal gets invalidated, I'm basically losing all faith in that position, and I'm just going to cut my loss on that one. I'm a lot more bullish than I've been recently, so I'm quicker to cut losses on shorts right now. Also going lighter on the shorts. Definitely long heavy now, even though we're trading into that 4-hour resistance. I just think that there's some momentum there, so I am still favoring the bulls for now. So I guess to answer your question, my stop loss is 65,188. Be careful with that, because I mean, just understand that's not even an invalidated Stuber fib, because it's not past the 115. It's really just since it's based off this strategy with the lower high signals, I just treat them a little bit different. I just tighten up the stop loss a little bit, because if that signal gets invalidated, I'm just losing all faith in that trend, basically. I might kick myself for this. I could see it coming up and... Frick, for what it's worth, I am going to loosen that. I'm going to go 233. I don't like to adjust stop losses like that, but I'll kick myself if I don't go with my fib. So the thing with this is, so even if this gets stopped out and just barely gets stopped out and then reverses, that would be totally natural. But the thing is, if that happens, I just really think that we would see an early bounce. So I really wouldn't have any regrets about it, because I just lose all faith in that if that gets invalidated, and I would just rather rest easy, you know. I already have a beautiful long in play. I already have this other small hedge short, and then actually the average entry of this one changed. Let me just check the other device here. Basically the same as my other entry. So yeah, like I said, as I ladder in, usually get my entry right around that 886. Yeah, I've got about 5 or so minutes. I actually got to get going a little bit earlier tonight. But let's see what happens for the next few minutes at least. It's good to be back. I wasn't here last week. Went on I was out of the country for a few days, and now I'm home for a couple days, and then I'm leaving for a couple days again. So, um, I might do a last minute stream tomorrow, um, but we'll see how much of my stuff I get ready. I'm gonna hop on the river for a few days with a canoe, so had my fill of people in San Diego. Now I want to go down into nature. Um, yeah, I don't know. This 4 hour chart, yeah, there's still momentum there. But like I said, we could remain bullish and actually have quite a pullback yet. So there's just those few things to be cautious of right now. Like the bulls look good. We're having bullish structure. We're setting higher lows. We're breaking horizontal structure. Indicators trending to the upside. There's a lot going for the bulls right now. It's just understanding that even though it's bullish, a pullback would be totally normal. And I mean, like I said earlier a couple times, resistance is resistance until it's broken. This red box I've had mapped out for literally since we traded down towards 59 or 49,000 US dollars. That's been my range pull ever since. That's from the start of August. So almost 2 months we've been in this range, and yeah, basically this red box, I mean, it's been resistance ever since. That's my macro bearish Stuber fib. So if we are going to see a nasty rejection, I would assume that it's coming in the next couple $1,000 kind of a thing. But again, with retail so short heavy and stuff like that, this engulfing monthly candle, I can't ignore those facts. This is one time I know I always say that, yeah, people start getting FOMO into resistance, and I know I'm doing the same right now. But just there's reasons for it, right? There's the bulls are actually looking strong, and retail is looking more bearish than normal. And there's just a few things adding up that makes me think that this time, I know no one likes the phrase "this time is different," but this does feel different this time rather than when we got rejected here. I was showing that fib earlier. When we got rejected there, it was after setting a lower low. Same with when we got rejected here, it was after setting a lower low. After, with this fib pull, we haven't seen another lower low after this. So we've actually got that nice rally. We didn't set a lower low there. We set a higher low. So there's just that hidden strength. The level I'm very interested in right now is that 886 macro fib pull. And the reasoning for that, like I said, I mean, every one of these big trend swings to the upside did test the 886. We're just now testing the 786. And as well with that diagonal resistance lining up absolutely perfect with that. I think that just says a lot. I think there's a few very strong signals pointing to that level, and that would be right around 67.5k. What else? What else? For those of you who are new here, I think I see I mean, most of you guys are familiar faces around here, but in case you guys are new here, I do share these on my small YouTube channel here, StuTube Trading, all one word. And sometimes I do my own live streams here. Also, subscribe to Financial Summit. I do videos for them as well, where I do some live streams there. I'm planning to hopefully do one there tomorrow. So yeah, do me a favor. For those of you who are watching this on my YouTube channel later, give me a like, subscribe if you haven't. And for those of you who are here with me right now live with the MDX ALGO community, but you haven't been here before with me or whatever, do me a favor, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And sometimes I'm posting things on Twitter too and stuff like that. But yeah, especially the YouTube channel, because I will do some random streams and shorter videos and that sort of thing. Wish I had some tunes going right now. When I stream on Financial Summit, I have a dashboard that gives me some tunes to play for you guys, but different streaming service. Honestly, this looks bullish to me. The fact that we did close, even though it's just the 1 minute and it is just one candle here, we did close that candle above this lower high point here. I have a feeling that it's not going to be long until we end up just going to the upside. But we'll see. Yeah, anyways, legends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. I don't know how long this is going to take to either get stopped out or hit my profit. And like I said, I have some stuff I got to do tonight here. So hopefully you guys found this stream useful. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe once this is actually uploaded to my YouTube channel. And thank you guys so much for joining me. I love doing these streams with you guys, going through the thoughts in my head, just kind of talking through everything. Kind of acts as a trading journal. So always appreciate doing these with you guys. It's good to hear other opinions too. So yeah, by all means, feel free to shoot your opinions my way and stuff like that. And other than that, I will see you guys in the chat. Yeah, with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.